I have been in healthcare, and I know how crazy the day-to-day is, and I know the pressures that are on our healthcare workers for taking care of clients who are really in, some of their worst moments, and their families who are sitting there watching their loved one go through that. And so for me, for CXperks to be able to come in and say, hey, let us take something off of your plate so you can be there for those people is really important to me. So when I meet with our partners, that's my ultimate goal to tell them is my job is to make your job easier.
Lauren.
Yes.
We met.
Works best.
Well, I feel like we have only met recently. Maybe the first time was at Tech Night. Had we met before that?
I feel like probably like in passing, but yeah, that would probably be the first like.
Okay. And I met Scott, your significant other, maybe like 14, 15, in 2014, 15, he had came to Hatch.
And, oh, really?
Yeah. And he was like, this is great. I'm awesome. I need to be here.
That doesn't sound like Scott.
No, he said, no. And he had sponsored an event through Allstate. And then I might be mixing stories up, but I think he sold a business to Google or had a product that got acquired by Google in some capacity. And
yes,
very cool. And now we get to meet you in this whole story. We've had Scott on a number of times.
And I feel like most importantly, we get to hear we'll learn the ground truth of all these stories.
Don't compare our videos now and
they will
pin us against each other anyway.
That's the entire plan, He'll have a different hat on every time too.
Right.
Yeah. So you grew up into business? Like that was your thing? Like you always wanted to get into business, or how did any of that start?
No, that was never on my radar. When I graduated, went to ODU, got a degree in recreation therapy, and worked in the medical field for 10-ish years before I met Scott. And then when we got together is when he opened his first Allstate office. And after about a year of him doing Allstate, and I was working for Centera at the time, I switched over and joined him in the agency. And then we grew from there. I ended up purchasing a book with Allstate as well. So we were both agents together.
Y'all dating then?
We were married at that point.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we opened his first Allstate in September of 23 and got married in November of 23. So ask him our anniversary, and sometimes it's the business and sometimes it's our actual anniversary.
Wow. I'm curious, can you explain what it means to purchase a book?
Yep. So with Allstate insurance specifically, it's a book of customers. And it's based on the amount of annual premium that comes in. So we purchased an agency from
Is that because
a retiring
person,
agent.
Okay.
Yep. So he was retiring, and he had, about 2,000 households that then became ours, that we became the agent of record for, and we take care of that book of
And
business.
is that like a one-time purchase and then it's done, or do they get residual type of?
So once we purchase that book from them, it is ours, and they are paid out for the business.
Okay.
Yeah, so over the years I've learned about this model. It's quite interesting where, for a lot of reasons, some people just aren't great at business, so they sell their book. Some people are retiring. Some people, it could be a cornucopia of different things. And so it's, you hear a lot of Allstate owners. Is that what you guys are, franchisors? Yep.
So we're not franchised. We are technically our own small business.
Okay.
But we have an agreed upon contract with Allstate that we will only write Allstate products.
Got it. Okay. And so over the years, I've learned that people acquire in different ways, and you guys have acquired several books, and it's a lucrative model because people tend to not leave. So, and you got recurring revenue. And so you're kind of just sitting in it forever, and it's a good book of business to be in. So I've always thought it's quite interesting. If you're good at business and you're good at sales and communication and management, it could be a really lucrative thing for you guys. So it's always been interesting. And that's your backbone.
Yeah, we have kind of taken the approach with all our businesses. Scott's strong on the sales side of things. I prefer the customer service side of things. So we kind of have our lanes that he takes on the sales and I take on the retention and customer service side of things, and it's worked well for us through the years.
Are books of business hard to? Is that rare that the
So
opportunity to buy one, and is it competitive?
it is competitive. There are key features you have to hit in order to be approved to buy a book of business. There's different licenses you have to get. When Scott and I started with it, we had to have our securities license. So you take your Series 6 and 63, which was harder than any master's course I went through to get that license done. So different requirements. So yeah, not everybody can necessarily go out and get one, but there's certainly lots of opportunity if somebody wanted to go after it to go get one.
One thing that is maybe a difficult conversation is when disaster hits.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are in the business of being able to communicate with those people and to, I don't know, make them feel a little better about it. I know that maybe 10 years ago, hurricane had hit my place. Everything got wiped out, basically. And what's interesting is the only thing I cared about in that whole thing were pictures.
Yeah.
And because you're trying to relive those moments. And I was an idiot at the time because all I needed to do was take these pictures. They were there, but they got waterlogged. And had I just pulled them out of they were in this plastic or from the glass, had I just pulled them out and let them dry, they probably would have been fine.
Right.
But I was an idiot, let them sit there for a while. And then by the time we realized that we needed to address that, they were ruined. So in those moments when you have to talk to people, when disaster hits, like what do you do to ease the moment, if you will?
So I would say claims is our time to shine. That's why people buy insurance. And I think just being able to empathize with somebody, sit there, I may not be in your shoes, but I'm here to help you. And my goal is to walk you through this, to kind of set the expectation of what that claims process is going to look like, and let them know we're here. Like, reach out to us, let us help you, let us be your advocate. And, our claims department's great. They, want to help get everybody back as quick as possible.
And how was that transferred into the new business, into the startup world? Is there a direct correlation there?
So for me, I think at the end of the day, you're still taking care of people in some way, shape, or form. So with CXperks, we're working with different businesses to help them take care of their customers. So at the end of the day, it's all about making sure your customer has a positive experience. And whether that's from a claims experience or sitting at the hospital waiting for a test to be done and being able to use CXperks to ease some of that anxiety.
And CXperks is an interesting business. Started as magazine jukebox.
Right.
Supposed to be a coffee shop that had a magazine wall, if you will. Hopefully with just COVID Biz and Tim and I on the cover the entire time.
That's right.
But so that was the kind of the genesis.
Yep.
March 2020 hits. The world shuts down. You guys realize this isn't going to work.
Right.
But maybe walk us through kind of the genesis after that.
Yeah. So March 20, like you said, hit. CDC pulled magazines. Scott had worked at Barnes & Noble's growing up, and he remembered always sitting, reading his magazine, having a Starbucks, and that was what he envisioned, a coffee shop. Being in insurance, we have very regulated, strict guidelines, and we wanted to do something that was a little bit more fun if we were going to do another business, so that's why we went thinking the coffee shop route. But once CDC had pulled magazines when COVID hit, we kind of put the brakes on everything. To reevaluate, what did we want that to look like? And the more we talked about that magazine wall, the more the conversation and wheels started turning of, there's got to be a way to still have magazines without the physical touch component. And it was COVID. We were home. We had a lot of extra time, so we started diving into research. Scott was breaking every code he could find on LinkedIn to get a hold of publishers. And that's kind of how it started, was through getting a hold of some of these big publishing companies and having the conversation of, hey, how are you guys getting your magazines out there right now? Do you have a digital idea? And kind of started pitching the very early idea that was at that point truly an idea. Scott took them from our kitchen. I was trying to keep the kids outside while he was on these big calls, and there was not a lot of places to go because nothing was open.
How did that initial conversation go? Were you to even start a new business? Was that something that you were open to, or was it?
Yeah. So Scott's always been the more dive in, jump, dare component of the business relationship. whereas I'm a little bit more, hold on, let me get my ducks in a row and really try to think. So it works out well because we balance each other out with the taking a leap, but also trying to have a rough idea of what we're doing first.
I would envision his mindset is like that because of his childhood where he had nothing. So the worst that happened, it can't get worse than that, right? And so he's like, I'm not going to ever let that get to that.
But I grew up military, so we were,
So the complete opposite. How do you guys? So it sounds like that would be a bumping heads, but maybe it should be a jelly. Like how do you have those conversations
about diving into new things?
Yeah, like obviously a new business like this, a digital startup is extremely lucrative, risky.
Yep.
How do you figure out? Right, could be the best of worlds, could be the worst of worlds.
So for us, I think the fact that we did have the insurance agencies as that steady going into it was really a big helpful component. Like we weren't going into 100%. This is going to be what our family survives on right now. So we were able to take a little bit of a risk because we still had that, I guess, a safety net, for lack of better words, to help us launch into this. And with the agencies, we, like I said, started in 2013. So we have a killer team in place over there that has been with us since 2013. And we can really trust them to run a lot of the day-to-day operations when we step away.
And I'm just, how did operating agreement between you and Scott in terms of you're married, you're business partners, how do you determine who's in charge of what? Yeah, how do you split out the equity? Like, just how do those conversations take place?
So the equity doesn't really, what's ours is ours kind of marriage. We are, I guess, not necessarily the norm of we have joint bank accounts for everything. There's not a my account and his account. Everything is one for us. So that was never a huge concern.
You gotta ask.
Scott's been on here 4 times. I've been on here today. So he's much more of that face. He likes to be out in front, and also for him to be the one, really pushing everything forward made the most sense. And I could be in the background doing more of the things I enjoy, which is taking care of customers and taking care of our team, is kind of where my strengths lie. So I prefer to do that stuff.
So many businesses will oversell, underdeliver. And I think a lot of that is in the implementation of a role like yours to ensure that stuff does in fact actually happen, right? And so it makes sense that you are in such an incredible role to do that. How did you learn how to be so good at communications, to manage people? Like, was it the days at Centera when you had to deal with a lot of individuals? Like, how do you handle that?
So I think a lot of it is just that empathetic role. I like to take care of people. I've always been in the human services field, from being a recreation therapist where I worked with patients who are coming out of brain injuries, spinal cord injuries, whatever it may be, helping them get back to living life. And then I have a degree in counseling. So working, really just with people was where I'm most comfortable. So for me to still just transition that both into insurance and CXperks, to me, that was always not about sales. It was about taking care of people. And it's just where I feel most comfortable.
How do you, are there questions that you ask, or you reset? Like, how do you put yourself in that setting to know, okay, I'm about to, if I'm on that sofa and you're in this chair, how do you put yourself in that situation? Because I think oftentimes, I don't meditate anymore, but when I meditated, I felt I paused for a second sometimes, and I would be in that moment. Is there something that you would do to put yourself in that, or are you just naturally gifted with that skill set?
Not really. I think I just like to make sure other people are taken care of at the end of the day. So, for me, I try to think about what's on their plate. Specifically, looking at CXperks from the healthcare side, I have been in healthcare, and I know how crazy the day-to-day is, and I know the pressures that are on our healthcare workers for taking care of clients who are really in, some of their worst moments, and their families who are sitting there watching their loved one go through that. And so for me, for CXperks to be able to come in and say, hey, let us take something off of your plate so you can be there for those people is really important to me. So when I meet with our partners, that's my ultimate goal to tell them is my job is to make your job easier. And so we go in with that mindset of what can we do to help ease that wait time, to give those families, those patients, whoever it may be using us, a moment to take a breather. Even the staff, it's important for them to have that, to sit and say, okay, instead of doomsday scrolling Facebook, let me go read a magazine or play a quick trivia game, and then I can get back on the floor, and me resetting is going to make me that much better taking care of my next patient.
Yeah, take us through that. You mentioned magazine, play a trivia game.
Yep.
How did that transpire? When did you make the decision to expand beyond?
So when we first started, it was just magazines. And then as we kind of grew, one of the big things is we like to talk to our partners and say, what are you guys looking for and what are you needing? So through a lot of those conversations, we kind of uncovered that games and trivia and other options would be an added benefit for their offering. So the neat thing about being a startup and being right in that front lines of working with our customers is we firsthand get to hear what they're looking for, and are able to implement some of those adjustments and changes. We just rolled out Spanish content on our platform in the last 60 days, which was really exciting. That was something that we heard a lot of feedback on. So now when you go into our games and trivia, it'll ask you, do you want to English or Spanish? And they're able to pick. And so we're able to appeal to that much more of a population now.
Interesting. Are you able to poll the people that are viewing the content directly?
So not really. Because of the areas we're in, specifically hospitals, we are very, very aware and sensitive to any kind of HIPAA. So we don't really pull any personal information, and we don't want to know that.
Right.
For that reason. We can tell you what time people logged in. We can tell you how many people logged in. But outside of that, we're not pulling any personal information from them. We do get a lot of reviews on Google from people using our platform. So we get a lot of feedback that way, and hearing their positive experiences.
Interesting.
Yeah, no login, right?
Right.
And then,
Take us through that customer journey in terms of someone goes into a doctor's office or a hospital waiting room for the very first time. What does that look like?
So we're a QR code, we're geofenced. They go in so that the business that is paying for it, they know that it's only available to people that are within their geofence location. And that's twofold, for protecting the business's investment as well as protecting our publishers. And so then they scan it and they're opened into our platform, which gives them the opportunity to view 12 magazines, 4 games, 4 trivia. And they can explore that while they're there. It stays with them for 72 hours once they leave. So I always say if you start an article and get called back for your appointment, you're able to finish it. And then we also have internal ad space for our business partners. So there's the opportunity for them to communicate directly. And so for our hospitals, that's a big thing for like downloading their MyCharts or recruiting their volunteers. And the cool thing about, again, it's staying with them for 72 hours means that they're able to communicate with their customers even once they leave.
And that's regardless of the geofence.
Yep.
That's cool.
Just that initial scan locks in their geofence and stays with them.
Customer asking questions to current customers and getting like the answers that you want. Like, I feel like that's an actual skill. Like you can say, hey, do you like this? Yes. Well, I mean, do they really like it? Like, how do you ask the questions to get the right answers, and then with that, analyze it to decide, like, oh yes, we should implement this. Like, how did you figure out the Spanish thing? Like, how do you decide that yes, this is worth it enough to make that? Because a decision like that could cost you guys tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars in development and implementation for it to flop. Like, how do you try to better your chances?
I think a big thing, like for the Spanish content, the games, the trivia, was the amount of times we were hearing it. We have, partners not only here in the U.S., but also internationally. And then we have, healthcare systems from Florida to California to Texas to New York. So we're pretty spread across the country. And when you keep hearing that same request over and over, it kind of confirms it for us. Mm. So, and something like Spanish was something that we were able to switch over for the games and trivia without a major tech lift. So it was a pretty easy decision to be able to work through that.
You all have raised some capital from investors. Was that always the plan to raise capital, or did you hit a certain period where like, it's time to raise? So
initially we knew we were going to need to raise because we were creating something that didn't necessarily exist yet. The technology was out there, but it wasn't together in one place. So we knew that we were going to have a tech lift that was going to need some capital, as well as it was important for us to initially start out the gates with a strong legal counsel as well, to make sure that everything was put together correctly from day one, particularly with the investors and everything. We wanted to make sure that we weren't trying to fix something after the fact. So we knew that a tech raise and legal fees are not cheap, that both of those were going to be a heavy lift financially.
And are you raising again anytime soon? I can't remember.
So yes, we would like to look to raise some smaller amounts right now, just to do some updates on the tech side, as well as continue to do some trade shows across the country, and continue to get our name out there.
What's it like working with your husband?
Like in general, him specifically, or being in a business with your spouse? For us, it works great. I know we are probably not the norm. When I talk to a lot of people and they say, "Oh, you work with your spouse," you get all kinds of faces and comments. Truthfully, it's all we know. We started, in business 2 months before our wedding together. So for us, it's just kind of been very natural. We do, I think, a good job of being able to separate business and home. Yes, there's a lot of intertwining in it. Our kids, already are constantly trying to figure out what businesses they can do. So they see it, but it works out well. We have a monthly standing breakfast where it's business only meeting, and we go through. And
I was going to think the opposite.
No?
We have a monthly standing meeting where we do not talk about.
No, that's date night. But business, we have where we sit down and we really take the time, because we found that it was always like, oh, we'll catch them up on that later. Or once the kids are down, let's talk about that. And it just would snowpile. So we have it on the calendar every month that we sit at the coffee shop and we go through line by line what needs to be addressed and make sure that everything's staying.
How big is the team now?
So on the CXperks side, we're small. There are about 4 of us over there. And then we have some fractional work as well. And on the insurance side, there's 4 of us over there.
Well, and I'm interested on the CXperks side. I would think, well, maybe it's on the insurance side too, that I would think that if there's any conflict, if you will, it would be the interviewing and hiring process in terms of 2 different personalities. You like one person, Scott may like the other,
So early on, we set up a point system with our hiring, so that every section of our interview has a point system. So that it gets to be pretty neutral. At the end, we tally up our points and we look at it that way. We've also been hiring together now for 13 years, so we can, look at cultural fit and all of that stuff that we take in. And then we usually do pull someone from our team. So we have a neutral opinion in there as well.
And do you have a no, I told you so clause?
No, we like to throw those I told you so's in there. We're just as competitive sometimes as our teams are. So,
what are some of the questions or things that you're looking for in those interviews?
I think just, personality is key. Specifically in a startup, you have to wear a lot of hats a lot of times. And sometimes things change quicker in a startup, because if you realize something's not working, you say, hey, we've got to make a pivot. So finding a personality that can handle that is important to us. And I always like to make sure that they're invested in seeing the success of the business too. I don't want this to just be a job for somebody. I want them to be invested.
How do you find that though? Or how do you see that? Because I agree with you. but seeing that the person, will go to the next step or is in it for the long run. Like, what are you doing to figure that out?
I think a lot of conversation. I like to have people come in and sit too. Like, I want you to come spend a day, see what it's like to truly be there versus me telling you what a day is. I like for my team to talk to my current team members as well without me there, because I think that a lot of times it can be, easily said, okay, yeah, I'm good. Or they may give me a different version than they may give one of my team members. So for me, it's important to get my team members' feedback as well as for the person interviewing to have the opportunity to really talk to my team and feel like they're getting a little bit more of a non-biased opinion.
On the flip side, have you ever had to have the conversation of it's time to let somebody go?
Yes.
How does that? Do you have a point system for that as well?
No point system there. Usually it's, I a lot of times will say a person fires themselves. Usually, they're going to know that's coming before it gets to that point, because we're going to have conversations that get us there. I believe very much so that you need to be in good communication with your team. And if there's an issue, we need to have that conversation ahead of time so that when that issue continues, it's no surprise when I say, hey, this isn't working anymore.
Are you the one to deliver that message?
Sometimes. I think it depends. A lot of times who that person specifically works with. So a lot of times if it's a sales-centered position, they're going to work more with Scott. So that conversation is likely coming from Scott. If it's a service-centered position, then they've probably more in line with me and my side of the team, and that conversation will come from me.
Why do you think people struggle with that? With having those hard conversations?
I mean, I struggle with it 13 years later. It's not a good feeling to do that. That's a big impactful moment in somebody's life, and you hate to be the bearer of that bad news. But a lot of times I do wholeheartedly believe that it's for the better and that they are going to find a position that's a better fit for them as well. And a lot of times I try to have that conversation, like let's talk through that with them and try to set up what that next step looks like for them.
The thing that's so hard for me to grasp is a lot of times when you do have to let someone go, you're almost doing them the favor because they needed that push.
Right. And I think that is very true. A lot of times, like I said, it becomes a better solution in the long run for everybody because it's just not the right fit, and that's okay. Sometimes it's not the right fit. Sometimes us as a business is not the right fit for that person, or that person's not the right fit for us, and it's okay.
Yeah.
So,
because I can imagine like Zach, myself, you, and Scott, we're all the same way in the sense of like we just go,
right.
go, and it doesn't matter what time it is.
Nope.
It doesn't matter what day of the week
Nope.
it is. It doesn't matter if you're on vacation.
No.
Whereas, and it's hard for me to understand and appreciate, a business does need a 9-to-5er. And
right.
you just need that steady.
Yes.
Whereas, and sometimes it can be frustrating when you're like.
We've had to tell our team, like Scott and I are notorious for, those 1 a.m. emails, or, Scott's an early riser. I am not. You're more likely to get a 1 a.m. than a 5 a.m. for me, but he'll be a 5 a.m. email. And we've had to tell our team, just because I send that at 1 a.m., I don't expect a response.
Right.
I expect you to respond to me between your work hours. But yes, our brains don't stop, and our workday is nowhere near a traditional day. But you're right. It's important that you have your 9-to-5s too. And it takes all of those types of people to make a business successful.
I heard a quote once, and it was something along the lines of, no one's going to love the business as much as you do, so you can't expect that. But if you can get 80%,
right,
that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
And I was like, oh, that's...
Well, and I think that's what's unique about working with your spouse is we both do love the business that much. And so it makes those late nights a little bit easier and understanding because we're both working towards that same goal versus, if I worked a traditional 9-to-5, it may be harder for me to understand why at Saturday at 9 p.m. he has his computer open. But now at Saturday at 9 p.m., I'm saying, oh, yeah, I need to, jump on and work on something too, or tell me what you're working through. Let's problem solve that together, whatever it may be. I think from that standpoint of being in business with your spouse, you understand it, and there's not somebody we're both at 100% wanting to see this succeed.
Are the kids into the collectible stuff or just Scott?
No, our kids are as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I'm not exactly sure the vernacular in there, but they acquire some sort of like baseball card.
Mm-hmm.
They keep what they like and they sell the others. And is that one of the ways that you guys are teaching them kind of business, entrepreneurship, math, things like that? Like, walk us through all of that.
Yeah, so our oldest, Freddie, he will be 10 in a week and a half. He is big into the baseball cards. I mean, they're everywhere at my house, and they drive me a little crazy on that side. But from a math perspective, this kid is learning. I mean, he'll get online and look up the card, look up the percentage. He knows what he's willing to sell it for, what his margins are. He'll go to a card show and walk around, and can look somebody right in the eyes, shake their hand, and make a deal. And it's really cool to watch that happen. Our daughter just turned 8. She loves to make bracelets. So she has her own little side hustle making bracelets. And for us, the other side of that is it's important to teach the importance of giving back. So she takes a percentage of her every month, and we work with local charities to do different things. She did dinners for the 4 Kids organization. They have a Beyond the Bell. So we would go out and do all the grocery shopping, which was quite an interesting thing with an 8-year-old. She's like, how much is lettuce? How much is, that barbecue, whatever it may be that we were making dinner for. We did a lot of taco nights for them. And so she's learning that side of the entrepreneurial component of making the bracelets and giving back to her community.
Last time I checked, a head of lettuce is like $3.
I was curious how much a pack of baseball cards
it depends on which ones.
Really?
Oh yeah. Or the Pokemon. Like they got some big numbers on that stuff.
It is. There was and I'm sure I'll butcher it, Cosmic Chrome that Freddie wanted for Christmas this year, and the initial numbers on it were.
Really?
I think that is
What's the number?
I think it was like $1,200. I was like, Freddie, we're going to have to reassess that Christmas list.
So Pokemon cards are really crazy, and they're all looking for a very specific thing. And Target, so like my nephew wanted some Pokemon cards recently, and my mom went to Target to buy him 4 packs, and they wouldn't let my mom buy them.
Yeah.
And they were like, you can buy 2. And even though they're boxes.
So there's a limit on
there's a
I
limit.
see.
And Pokemon cards are so big. And like, that baseball cards, football, like it's crazy. Like there's just the amount of going to the shows to market there where they record everything on YouTube and show them, and like the transactions. Like we're not talking small numbers. And what are the plastic card wraps around in each one of those things? So like the card would go
sleeves.
Sleeves.
Yep.
So a lot of them have like the sleeve in it and then like this little sticker with like the price on it. And so the kids are seeing the transactions.
Send them off to be graded, and a graded card costs more.
The grading thing is ridiculous. There's a Golden on Netflix. There's that show where
seen that one.
They talk about all the like just selling of collectibles, and they were trying to sell, I believe, Logan Paul's Pokemon card.
Is that the one he wore in the necklace?
Yeah. So he buys this, I think, for $7 million, and he recently sold it for I think $17 million plus the entire collection of something else percentage. It's ridiculous money.
Wow.
People are spending tons of money. And so people are, when they're opening these Pokemon cards, they're only looking for a very specific card. So they could be throwing away a lot of lower end $20, $30 because they don't care. They're looking for the 40, 50, $100 million card all the time. Dude, it's ridiculous.
It's almost like a lottery ticket.
Yeah.
But in a pack of cards.
Yeah, I mean, Freddie's got a couple that he holds on to that we tell him he saves it up, and it all plays out right. It could be, the down payment on his first car in a couple of years. There's between Pokemon and sports cards, we laugh that the Pokemons tend to hold their value because Pokemon characters don't go do some not so smart things that some athletes do. So their values don't tank the same way.
Yeah, that shiny's not going to do that. That's a Pokemon card.
And so are there local graders that you take these to? Or like how? Because they're grading on the quality of the card, right?
Correct.
Like creases and...
Yeah, the pointiness, the
alignment, is it off-centered and all of that. I'm learning, but not my strong suit.
the most expensive card out there is from a baseball or from a cigarette pack. And there's this, oh God, I can't think of what it's called. But like the highest grade on that is like a 2 out of 10. And it's still worth like millions of dollars. Horse something. I can't think of his name. But yeah, a lot of money in these cards, dude.
I had no idea that was still the case.
Yeah.
Yes. And I made the mistake of showing up at Sam's Club one morning when it was a Pokemon drop day. And it was...
Oh, meaning like a new
They had like
series?
cases, that they drop, I guess.
Wow.
And it was an intense experience.
So
you thought the rotisserie chicken was bad.
Yeah, no. I mean, there were lines. There were like, you had to get tickets. It was...
Holy moly.
That's really interesting. So it's not necessarily... They're releasing these new drops with scarcity and rarity inside them to keep the value. It's not necessarily, hey, I'm looking for a rookie Jordan or a rookie Tom Brady or whatever the case is. I mean, they're releasing scarcity from the jump.
Yes. And I think there's some people that like buy those cases and just don't open them. They just sit on them, keeping them sealed.
Yeah, packs, people paying $90,000, $200,000 for a pack waiting for this. They're like, well, the numbers say it's in there somewhere.
Wow.
If I get that, I'm going to make this money. And so online, like people will have like these open parties where people will just open and see if they get them.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I have an unopened pack of The Simpsons. It's probably
$17. Let's go.
Yeah, right. I have no idea, and I just hold on to it because I'm like, I have no idea if there's a. But they're probably, I don't know,
I think the guy's
30, 35 years old.
Oh, it's probably worth something. I think the guy's name was Otis Wagner or something like that. Horace Wagner, that baseball card. But that teaches your kids entrepreneurship in a very unique way. I think it's very different than all of us were taught growing up. It's like, oh, listen to Sally, Mrs. Sally talk about this thing. It's a difficult task for me, but I can learn by doing, learn by watching others. Right. And I think that's the coolest thing about kind of our next generation is they're learning by doing, by watching, consuming. And that's cool that you guys are embracing that, because I think a lot of parents would probably just be like, here's your iPad, go.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's really going through with my kids. I didn't learn about cost of goods sold until I went to business school.
Right.
And so like now with us, we're like, all right, you're making a cake or whatever, and here's how much it costs for flour and sugar and da-da-da-da-da, and so like, what an advantage that your kids have when you can teach them that.
I hope so. I hope it's setting the groundwork, for them. I think, we talk about AI and everything like that they're just going to go into a different workforce than we all went into. And I think it's important to kind of, have those conversations and best prepare them for a workforce that looks very different than when we all first entered it.
How does CXperks look at AI?
We are embracing it. So we have, really worked different components of AI and continue to look at how can we use AI to continue to better improve our services and our platform. We recently, put an AI receptionist on board for our phones to initially help direct it. Is it going to sales? Is it going to service? What is this call about? And it's going well. So it's amazing what it can do. Scott has definitely embraced it a lot quicker than I have. It scared me for a little bit, and I still sometimes am a little taken back by what it can do. But yeah, I think that it's one of those things that it's here, and the best thing to do is embrace it and use it smart and resourcefully.
Yeah.
But use it where you can.
Because one thing that I'm looking at there, I'm just thinking about is like puzzles and trivia. Is that something that you all can do in-house and vertically integrate that to have AI come up with the trivia, or is it become cheaper from whoever you license it to for them to develop it? Yeah, so that's interesting how that will.
Yeah, and there's all different kinds of ways, even from the like the ads and things too. So if the business chooses not to place their own ads, it may be something that down the road we can look at integrating something else in there. There's, the opportunities with AI right now are pretty endless on where it could go.
So as someone who wasn't an early adopter, or I'm not sure that's the right word, but for someone like you that wasn't embracing it as much as Scott was, like, was there a time where you decided to change? Like, how did you change? Like, what are you doing to try to stay on top of that? Because I think, in America, it's really interesting. And I learned this in maybe the last 6 months just from doing the show, is like in other countries, fully embracing it. Here in America, like there's, some people are in it, some people aren't. Like, what are you doing to try to stay on top of it? And then to still kind of stick to your roots of maybe being a little less risky? Like,
yeah, I think I'm big on, like, if it's AI generated, I want to make sure like it's being fully approved before it rolls out. There's some things that AI just runs with. I still like to have that personal touch with it. So I don't want it creating an email and sending it on my behalf. I want to make sure those are my words going out still, and things like that. So for me, it's using it as a tool, but not using it as its end all.
Yeah, that whole aspect, it's interesting in the sense of the big the controversy, I guess, is like workforce costs money.
Right.
And so AI leveraging the money to buy more workforce to be able to do more things, as opposed to leveraging AI to reduce the amount of people that you need in order to run your business.
Right.
I think that's the big controversy and the confusion. Whereas I think that most businesses and business owners, we're of the mindset of, let's use that money to 10x what we can produce, as opposed to reduce how much it costs
right.
to produce that work.
I think it's important as a tool, and to still use, you need people that oversee the AI. You don't want to just, so I think it reshapes a little bit of your team, because you want them to integrate using the tool.
Because I think there's so many. I think that we could potentially increase the number of jobs with AI, because we want to increase the output. To your point, as opposed to so many people are so scared of reducing.
Right.
And I think that it's just good. It's retooling and I don't know. I can't. You said it perfectly both times that you've mentioned it, and now, but it's
use it as a tool.
It's reshuffling. It's reshuffling the deck.
Right. Right. I think that, some of the mundane tasks that are required can be eliminated, that you're really using somebody's talents more than them just doing repetitive work that can be done by AI, with them making sure that it's overseeing.
I think one of the craziest things that I saw over the weekend, it just is in farming, autonomous tractors. And they're out in the middle of the night.
That stuff scares me.
doing, like, tending to the crops.
Right.
And they're able to do it at night, autonomous, with lights, and they're spot treating the crop. I mean, that's just bananas stuff. I mean, but the thing about it is that nobody wants to be a farmer anymore.
Right.
And the amount of food that we need to produce.
Yeah, we need it.
We need it.
Yeah, I think that it's, AI's neat in that there's not really a realm it can't touch. It can go from farming to technology to healthcare to, everything in between.
And I think what a lot of people don't realize is going after the jobs that people don't want. And because the business owners are forcing the hand, like, I can't find anybody that wants this job.
Right.
So we have to solve this somehow. And we can't entice someone to want to become a farmer and pay them $200,000 a year. I mean, it's just the numbers don't work.
Right.
So
I think you're able to use somebody's talents a lot more with AI taking care of some of the stuff they don't want to do and focus on where their talents are.
You're someone who grew up here in Hampton Roads.
Yep. I moved here in high school.
Okay. So in high school. Okay. Yep. And you've lived here for 20-ish years.
Yeah.
What do you love about being here?
I love Hampton Roads. I think that we get the best of everything. We get all the seasons. You can still see all the colors in the fall. Drive up to Williamsburg. It's beautiful. But
you think we're a 4-season area?
I think that the perfect we are 4-season, but the great thing is that winter is
it's short.
It's just enough,
right?
Just enough to
one
get
month.
Yeah, I don't need a ton of snow. Just see it once or twice, and
winter
I'm good.
1 month.
Right.
Summer 6 months. Okay.
Yes. Yep. But we've got the beach. You can get up to the mountains. You can get up to DC if you want to be like big city. We've got, there's concerts and the theaters, and there's not a lot you can't find to do here in Hampton Roads.
How did you get Scott? Scott he's adopted to the 757 quickly.
Yeah.
Did you have to do any convincing, or what did you do to lead him to embrace?
So he was already in the 757 when I met him.
And was he all on board at that point, or was he?
Yeah.
He still wears his Dodgers stuff.
He does.
Loud and proud, but he seems to have embraced.
Oh, well, the Dodgers, I mean, they just spend a lot of money.
I think we're just invested here in Hampton Roads, from, business to family and everything in between. This is where we want to be. This is home.
People don't always think of this area as a tech hub, but I think a lot of innovation and pushing that kind of notion has changed people's minds. What do you think about the tech scene here?
Yeah, I think just in the past 5 years of us being a part of it, I think we have seen it grow leaps and bounds. I think you guys play a huge contributing factor to really helping people realize how much of it is here too. So I thank you guys for your efforts and opportunity you put out there too.
Well, the thing is, thank you for that. But you all make it easy as well.
Wow.
And we, in the sense
Teamwork.
of you share what you're doing.
Right.
Granted, Scott is a little bit more vocal than most about getting that word out, but it's really, really important. And you all are very outward in terms of this is what we're doing. And so you make it easy for us.
Right. We're big believers, and there's a lot of fish to be had, and the more you help other people, the more you ultimately are helping yourself too. It's that whole giver's gain component.
Well, yeah, and it's frustrating to me in the sense that when people are like, "Oh, you only talk about this company or that company or CXperks," it's like, well, send us an update about what you're doing.
Right.
And we're happy to share.
Right. Yep.
If nobody knows about it, it's really, really tough.
Right. Right. Yeah. No. And I think for the most part, there is a lot of great companies that are willing to, give back and help each other in this area. There's a lot of, collaboration going on, a lot of people that are willing to share about their challenges and how they overcame them, and give some word to the wise on what they found along the way. And I think that's really cool to see some of that mentorship and collaboration happening.
As you mentioned it, what do you think one of the biggest challenges has been that you have had to overcome to this point on the CXperks side?
On the CXperks side, I think just the getting your name out there and growing from an initial standpoint is challenging. Marketing is a huge line item on somebody's budget, and figuring out how to do that when you're a startup and you don't have all the funds to necessarily drop into marketing and growth and everything in between, figuring out how do you get your name out there without having necessarily the budget to do it.
We have to be your biggest cheerleader. And if you're not willing to do that, then you probably shouldn't start business, in my opinion. And you just got to tell a lot of people. And if you I think people are afraid maybe their baby's ugly type of thing, or what's going to happen.
And you have to be okay with people are going to tell you that. There's going to be people who look at you and say, well, that's dumb. That's not going to work. Okay.
I like it when those people become a customer.
So exactly.
Told you.
Some of that just fuels the fire that much more of an I told you so later moment. So it's okay. We're not for everybody.
Are you someone who likes to be in a setting like this at all? Super, okay, so you're super uncomfortable and nice. So you don't ever you're not ever pitching to the investors or getting on stage and scenarios like that?
I will in certain settings. I have no problem when we have our investor meetings, getting up and sharing what's going on specifically from the customer onboarding, retention, what our clients are saying, that kind of stuff. More than happy to do that. if I have a script to stand on stage and read from, more than happy to do that. It's the this off-cusp thing that makes me slightly nervous at times.
You're doing great. From an investor perspective, is there something that maybe they've been asking you for that you guys weren't expecting?
Not really. I mean, I think that, all investors want to see the same thing. They want to see what's growing, what's the income coming in, what's the potential, what's the runway look like. I think a lot of it is pretty standard stuff they're looking for that you would think looking into a business they would look at. How is the local community embraced? Have you had difficulty getting CXperks into the different locations? They are embracing it more now. They were not our first early adopters. 757
Was there any particular reason that you've been able to uncover for that?
I think we're starting to be able to show the traction, show the data, being able to show, what the usage numbers are, the amount of time people are staying on our platform. The average user's on our platform for over 20 minutes. When you walk into a doctor's office, your wait time is generally over 20 minutes. So being able to say like, hey, we can fill a lot of that dead space is important to be able to show. We went live in our first airport less than 90 days ago, and they're already skyrocketed over 1,000 users. So being able to see those numbers and back up what we've been saying with the data, I think is really starting to help us continue to grow and make that traction.
Any other locations you can share with us? So doctor's office, waiting rooms, airports, can you share with what could be next?
So the hospitals are obviously are very bread and butter to our business right now. Airports, I think, are going to be a very big run for the money there for, which is taking the lead, hospitals versus airports. But we're in coffee shops, we're in auto dealerships, we're in hotels, we're in resorts, different things along that nature. It's anywhere there's dead time, anywhere where people have that, time to sit and need something to occupy their time. We make sense.
Can you explain to me the 6-7 phenomenon? What it's like? What is it? Like, I don't get it. Like, you see it everywhere. Like,
I wish I could. I'm now told that was last year by my kids.
So 7, 8 now? Or
I guess, we're
Eight,
into
nine.
the scuba dance move. I don't know. I can't keep track. But my kids tell me that we are past 6-7. So.
Oh, really?
We've survived it, I guess.
But how did it do? Like, what would they do? Like you would go the days of the week, or 3, 4, 5, 6, like
anywhere, no matter what you were counting out, they zoned in on it. We were 6-7 for Halloween, Scott and I think that might have been the nail in the coffin moment for our kids when we came down the stairs with 6-7 t-shirts on. The immediate eye rolls were worth it all. So
okay. Are you glad those moments are over?
You just brace for impact on what's next. Something else will come down the pike,
It's so funny how stuff catches.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I just don't even get it.
So
we were at an event, and it was a game show, and it was Deal or No Deal.
Okay.
Tim and I are there, and the person playing is playing terrible. And I think then it was 0 to 1,000 is the number to look at in this specific game. And they get offered 120, 140, 150, something like that. Then, they pick a big number and they get screwed. So the next thing is like, it's $67. And the kids, you just hear the kids erupt. And they're like,
so funny.
pretty funny. Like, I was like, oh, didn't think about that. But there it is.
Well, we
made it through.
Do we say 6-7 more now because it's in our head? Or have we always said, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7? Or is it just now that we started saying those numbers in conjunction more?
Well, what's kind of like when you own a Jeep.
Right.
You don't see any Jeeps until you own a Jeep.
They're everywhere.
Then, you just do the Jeep wave. And it's kind of like that, 6-7 is like the Jeep wave.
I'm going to go with the Jeep wave being a little bit cooler than 6-7.
Well, it certainly lasted a lot longer.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know how to keep up with it. I mean, I feel like you're in a better spot because you at least have a source of education. Whereas, like, I don't know, I spent a lot of time not a lot of time, but when I do see something on Instagram, I'm like, I'll look just to see if I can learn, but I forget it as soon as I see it. And then it's just, man, the trends are wild.
I worked at a children inpatient treatment center before all of this stuff. And I used to like regularly Google what the kids were saying on my computer to try to figure out like what it was. I always said, if I got fired and they searched my browser history, it would have been real interesting because I was constantly Googling words that the teenagers were telling me in treatment because I didn't know what they meant.
Well, yeah, the one that I heard most recently that I had of course I had no idea. No notes.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know that one.
So maybe I'm on the front end of this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Enlighten me, because I'm sure it will be making its way down to the elementary school level.
I guess when you are an actor, when you do a scene or whatever, and if the director says no notes, that means that you aced your performance. So
okay.
Your performance today, Lauren, no notes.
Thank you.
Oh, Lord.
I don't know. It's a wild. It's just.
I might have notes for you, but
That's fair.
Tim's on the no-note bandwagon.
That's fair.
It's okay. Anything you want to talk about that we haven't talked about?
I don't think so.
Anything that you want to have on the record about Scott?
Scott
this
cannot.
is the one option.
He can't even come back and.
I know he can't put in edit requests or anything.
We won't let it.
No.
No notes on that.
No notes. No, we enjoy what we do. We enjoy being able to work together and grow business and be able to provide jobs and help grow our local community as part of it.
Well, one of the things that we end every show.
Okay.
And you being a lifelong resident of Hampton Roads.
Yes.
We are trying to find out and understand.
Okay.
From a branding standpoint, there's Chicago deep dish pizza, there's Buffalo chicken wings, and a lot of these places have their own locally branded food item. We're trying to figure out what it is within Hampton Roads that we can brand. That is, you have to come to Hampton Roads to experience this, or we're just trying to figure it out.
No, we're a big Taco Tuesday family. We enjoy our La Parrilla or Plaza Azteca. The white sauce, I think, is one of the local Hampton Roads things. I've had plenty of people come and say, what is this? We don't have this where we're from. So maybe it's that. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that is a popular response. And I know when we have family come to town, or if we go to visit our family, we will always deliver them some.
Oh.
Yeah.
You bring a bag of white sauce with you, huh?
Well, just chips and salsa, and here you go.
Some people love it. Some people hate it. Yeah. I'm on Team Love.
I also am.
Okay.
I'm on Team Love.
I love it.
How would you rank it out of 10?
I mean, probably
6,
like
7?
a 9. Yeah, and a little more than a 6, 7.
Oh, goodness. Well, there's plenty of fish to decide if the Mexican white sauce, if that's what it's called, is the thing. We appreciate your time, continued success.
Thank you for having me.
And looking forward to many more conversations in the future.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.